All right, here we go. Ready to fire up another down flat rate. Get to work. How you doing? Thanks for tuning in. I'm so glad you did. I'm going to take you to work with me today in the auto repair shop. Professional mechanic, some might say. Been doing this for 44 years if you're new, and I literally take you to work with me. Fixing cars, keeping the world moving. We'll have a little fun. We might learn something. You might be able to get in those comments and teach me a thing or two. There's quite a few people lately that want to teach me stuff, which is good. I appreciate that. You don't have to call me an idiot, stuff like that. But you know, hey, everyone's got their opinions. We're trying to build a positive community. Critical feedback in an adult fashion, perfectly fine. If you want to be stupid, you might not get to see any of the videos that complain about them. But you might miss out on some of the good parts too. So you always gotta try to look at the positives, right? Anyway, today, hot and muggy, 81 degrees already. I tried to get a little Burger King. I was in the mood for a little fast food breakfast. Once in a while I do it. I tried to get Burger King. I sat in the drive-thru for 3 minutes without anyone acknowledging that I was at the speaker. Drove across the street to McDonald's. Anyway, you might be experiencing the same thing by you. I'm not sure. It seems like customer service has gone way downhill, at least in this area. No one seems to care about anything. They're trying to find a way to get $25 an hour for ignoring people in the drive-thru. Good for you. If you can pull it off, I'm happy for you. Guys, we are going to try to get something done today. I want to do a bleed down test on the other two cylinders on this bank. They're actually putting together an estimate for an engine. I'm like, well, we're not 100% done yet, but that's probably where we're headed. But the engine's $8,500 and the guy's trying to get a loan to get it fixed. Yeah, same Jeep with mismatched tires and a whole bunch of other problems. Got over temp transmission codes. We recommended a transmission 3 years ago. I don't know where it ends, but it's not up to me. You might know that. Either way, we're going to keep our chin up. We're going to try to look at the positives, try to make things happen today. If we have as good a day as we did yesterday, we're on our way to a record week. We're doing actually really good. So the channel's still got over 1 million views in the past 28 days. 18,500 watch hours. You guys are awesome. The support's been amazing. We're growing. We're building a community. That's what it's really about. Let's finish getting the shop open up and stop flapping the trap and see what we can do to make it a productive day. Stay tuned. Alright, I think the old Honda timing cover resale job is going to be our first order of business today, but I'm not sure. I'm waiting here on the Expedition. I did an oil change and a brake inspection on it yesterday. It didn't need brakes, so someone had recommended them, but it don't need them. So anyway, I also got to road test the Infinity. I switched the mass airflow sensors from bank 1 to bank 2. It had a code PO10B bank 2 mass airflow sensors, so they're the same left and right. I switched them. If you didn't see yesterday's video, I just had to road test it. I also cleared codes. See, 1 if the code comes back, and 2 if it moved to the other bank. Meanwhile, I can play with this. It's about 6 hours to get the timing cover off, reseal it. I'm also going to do this solenoid because it was getting wet with oil after cleaning it all off twice. Very slight, but customer doesn't want any leaks. Customer's not going to have any leaks. I don't want to discharge AC if I can avoid it. Seems like a little bit too long of a bolt for. Might have slightly overdone it. I don't know. Honda. That'll work. Serpentine belt crank pulley, and then there's about 30 bolts or so holding the timing cover in. Oh, you want to see something funny? I mean, this is the instructions for resealing the timing cover. Looks confusing, doesn't it? Positions A, B, and C get either A, a 2.5mm bead of RTV, B, a 3.5mm bead, or C, a 5mm bead. but that's not all. Positions D and E get an 11 millimeter wide bead. It's supposed to be 0.098 high to 0.197 high, so a tenth of an inch variation in height is allowable. So these are all different positions. All these little dots, it's supposed to change thickness. This is the thickest areas where they want it, and then the thinnest is where it has an A pointed to it, which is 3, 4, 5, 6 places. B is the middle thickness bead on the oil pan rail. I thought that was interesting. Do you know anybody that can precisely measure RTV 2.5, 3.5, and 5 millimeters wide? I'll tell you right now what's probably going to happen. These will all get 4 millimeters. It'll be a nice compromise. I will go, I think C. I'm not sure. And I don't see any C's in any of these areas other than this C, which is 5 millimeter. I don't, you guys spot it, you let me know. This is stuff that they're doing to make it, you know, aftermarket. This is all done by robots and stuff, obviously. If you measured this precisely and adjusted each bead this precisely, it would take you 45 minutes, and the RTV would be starting to skim over by then. They give you about 8 to 10 minutes to get it on in place. So, bolts take out because they sit down on top of the frame rail, so it's not going to go anywhere. Now I can jack it up and the mount will be free, and I'll let the engine rise up. Then I can loosen those bolts. You guys know I don't like to leave bolts on the wiper towel when I'm taking the engine apart. These are the very large ones. I've got my trays over here for the smaller bolts, because if bolts go in there that you didn't see, bad stuff pops. There's ground up here. Oh, it's got a broken motor mount. Well, that's unfortunate. That's unfortunate. I didn't think they would put it in there before. That was wrong. Could have used the power tool on it. You gotta exercise the arthritis to keep it moving. That's not supposed to be like that. I thought Hondas don't break. What is going on here? Alright, I got pulling some wiring out here. There's a bunch of broken coil connectors and stuff. RTV in the second one. And just no connector whatsoever left in the third and fourth. Hanging on by a thread. Gotta get the belt out of the way so I can get to the compressor clutch connector. So I can get this wiring harness out of here. That's the connector I'm after down there. You can see where there's oil all over everything coming over here. So we're gonna do this little solenoid and that block off plate down there. We got a new one of those. That's, I don't know if that's a VTEC filter plate they call it. There's a gasket behind it with a mesh filter. Supposed to trap metal particles or whatever else and only let oil through, because the components for that system are super fragile. And believe it or not, sometimes a little tiny piece of metal, almost microscopic, measured in microns, will make it past the oil filter or happen after the oil filter, because the filter filters the oil. Whatever happens to come through the engine and get into the oil pickup will get filtered from the filter before it goes up. But that don't mean it can't happen afterwards, and that's usually what takes engines out. Well, that Jeep put a used transmission in 3 years ago. I thought he declined it. He declined the remand, and he approved the used one, which had a 90-day warranty 3 years ago. So I think we're basically done with it at this point. He doesn't want to go any further. There's a bolt hidden just under there. So if I can pull it out of the way and zip that bolt out, then I won't have to take it off. Otherwise, there's a Torx right here, and then a couple of bolts to get the tensioner off, I would assume. I'm going to clean that area up a little more too. I think I need to get whatever sensor this is. We'll need a new O-ring. If there's oil inside the electrical connector, I'll probably need to replace that sensor, but I have to let him know. It's the same as this, I believe, but for the other cam. Maybe there's one back here, I'm not sure, I don't think so. I don't know much about these engines, but I fixed a couple of leaks on them. A lot of oil leaks, but other than that, no real big problems. I'll be able to pull that tensioner up to get that bolt up. I might be able to leave the coils attached. Swing it over, I don't know. Tough call. This has got to come out of here too to help. In the valve cover in the back, or cam cover, head cover, whatever you want to call it. I've heard it called all kinds of silly names, mostly on the playground. And this hose, I think I can lift the valve cover off. Now we've got the VVT solenoid assembly unplugged. There's two connectors, and this one I pulled off, and it was definitely oil in the electrical connector. I cleaned it all out already and everything, but I got to clean it again. There's still some oil in there. I cleaned it with brake clean. I'll have to hit it with some mass airflow cleaner. This bracket is under that harness, so you got to unclip the harness to get to the bolt that holds the harness to the engine. Honda's smart. Give it a gentle try, not hard. Try not to drop it. Luckily there's a second electric connector under it that I couldn't see. This is what tells you that the solenoid is leaking oil inside it. Because oil shouldn't get past that weather pack seal, so it's coming from the solenoid itself. It got me one, but I was thinking this one was leaking, and there is oil in it as well. So all that means is they'll have to get me another. This one looked like it was leaking from the O-ring here, or from this case somewhere. Very strange. I cleaned that off, and then ran it quite a bit, and it got wet again. So I don't know if it may be leaking through this case in here. He doesn't want any oil leaks. He's not going to have any oil leaks, as long as the new stuff doesn't leak.
Just remember, you wanted this.
I'm going to find all the bolts no matter what. Oh, after a lot of hemming and hawing, I realized I got to take this out to do that plate. I got to take the black underneath it out too. So much for trying not to remove the tensioner. Here it is. Just an Allen and a 12 at the bottom. Anyway, it's not hard. But you know, anytime you can save 5 minutes in this business, you do it. Just couldn't do it this time, that's all. The problem I'm seeing is water goes through there. But I think, I can get to the 10mm bolt through this hole right here to the other side. That helped. Oh boy, I'm going to go ahead and pop that plate in now. Then I'll do the job with the alternator and tensioner out of the way. It'll make it a little easier. Nice. See how flat the gasket is too? So, got a combination on this engine, I think, of a lot of little leaks. When you get a $600 camera, you got to clean your fingers off before you turn it on and off. That's the gasket's supposed to look like. Honda OEM parts. Wow. That's the right one. Well, that's unfortunate. Oh well. Little piece of tape, this thing will be good as new. No, I don't even know. Not the correct one. It looks just like it though. Well, once you get all your nuts off this wheel, comes right off. Then plastic underpinnings out of there. Sometimes that'll fold up and stay, sometimes it won't. Get some more plastic out of here. You can see our crank pulley. This has the one that's like, I don't know, 6,500 foot-pounds or so. Well, we got tools for that. Gotta stay hydrated. Gotta get better about that. A couple people have been concerned about me. I got a doctor's appointment Monday. I'll be coming in a little late. So gonna finally get it, check them up. We got insurance all sorted out. I don't have to take this all the way off. I just need to get out of my way. There's a couple of bolts that go from the pan up towards the timing cover. We're not messing with the timing chain, so we don't have to zero anything out when I'm taking it all apart. We're just fixing oil leaks, but I do want to clean the area. I drove the Infinity. I drove it like 8 miles. No check engine light, no code for mass airflow sensors after moving. I almost wonder if someone had to unplug with the key on at one point or something, but we didn't have a circuit code, which is weird. There's a map sensor performance code. We'll drive it a couple more times and see if it acts up. She's in Europe until the 18th of July, so we have to call for a while. This is where we find out if it's ever been taken off before, because it'll come out easier if it's been apart before. Nope. Try the special socket first. Now we'll try the bigger impact. Come here. Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy. Not really the best setup, is it? Let's put you on a stud. Gotta watch this keyway. Uh-oh. Old man skin. I bumped into something. You gotta watch this keyway. They're not usually pressed in. They kind of float. So it'll either come out with the pulley or drop onto the ground. Keep your eyes peeled. Help me out, will you? There's a keyway. Goodbye. To take out these 310s, all these bottom bolts, I'll be able to go upstairs and do the rest from the top. I'm going to clean that frame off so that doesn't get all over my wound, my fresh wound. I don't know where I even did that, on the plastic shield. I used to be a tough guy. Couldn't cut me with a samurai sword. Now I get injured by plastic. So times have changed, that's all. Adapt and move on. Have I mentioned we have 55 gallons of brake clean? Pretty tight 89 inch-pounds, I'll tell you what. Well, they call it 9 foot-pounds, so I have to do the math. I think it's 89 inch-pounds. I also have to take this cover off. These are big problems with leaks these have, so we're going to reseal that, but we'll do that while it's off. Pulling bolts out like a wild man over here. Take note, this is a guide bolt. It's got a shoulder on it. Luckily it won't really fit in the wrong hole, but the correct hole, it fits. Third hole up on both sides. I'm keeping them in order because it's also slightly different length, but it won't fit in the holes anyway. I just feel better about it putting them in order. If they fall over, you guys have to remind me it's the third hole up. A lot of shadows, so I'm just poking around in the dark. We're getting close. Now the tricky part, finding a good place to try. Rather than fighting the damage to the pulley. Got it. I said to myself, success or failure, I'm bringing you in for the show. I don't have enough. What we have to watch for is O-rings. I don't think they got me any of those. I'll have to go remind them about them. This is where they want the OTB a little thicker for some reason. It just butts up against the wall. I gotta believe the engineers, or at least the people who wrote the instructions, have some idea about their engine. Look at that. That's why it's leaking. All the RTV is hardened pretty bad. And like I said too, it wasn't a big leak. It was adding a quart of oil every couple of months. Some of that could be burning, but it definitely had some leak. I hope it doesn't leak when we're done. That's all that really matters, right? Get this all cleaned up. You can put a little Scotch-Brite on these. Hit it with a little Scotch-Brite after you brake clean the heck out of it, just to promote adhesion, and actually sell products that you spray on there to help RTV stick. It's more critical with plastic than it is with aluminum, but let's find a safe way to turn off the new camera. Oh, that's my fan. He's got my ventilation fan out there. I'm like, what is all that noise? I thought he was vacuuming. That's the fan I used to paint the project truck. I clean this initially in the parts washer, and then you got to clean the parts washer off of it. Like everything, a little bit of a process. There's fluid. These drums have the mineral spirits we use in there, or whatever chemical it is. Environmentally friendly, I'm sure. No, don't worry about it. I'm gonna get this thing cleaned up. He's trying to find these other O-rings. He's like, can you reuse those? I go, well, only if we're willing to risk still having leaks when we're done. So they're gonna try to find them. In the meantime, I can reseal that little black cover and get it bolted up, and then we'll be in a holding pattern and see if there's something else we can do while parts are en route. Seems like about 99.9% of the RTV squeezed out, and we just have to very gently clean this off of here, the remnants. Well, made a little mess. I don't know why I assumed that the oil pan was where the oil was, not the timing cover, but don't worry, we're gonna mix it up. We're gonna clean it up. I can't even leave it till the end. I'm gonna have to clean it now, because you might know I don't like walking around this stuff. First I'll go over this with the brake plane and a shop rag. Get the heavy RTV sealing off of there. It's a little time consuming, but, and then I'll just lightly with a Scotch-Brite just scuff it up very, you can hardly even tell, just to help with adhesion. You don't want to really alter the surface of the aluminum, because it's a certain amount of a certain surface they want. Matter of fact, I'm going to look and see if we have any surface prep. That helps a ton too. If you use a surface prep product, you don't even have to do the Scotch-Brite scuff part. And I don't even do that every time. I only do it on something that I anticipate I might have a problem with. And these always leak from the factory anyway. So I gotta do something a little different than what they're doing, otherwise I'll get the same result, although I guess the car has some miles on it. What do you think? Matter of fact, there's a service bulletin about this cover. They tell you to replace it. They also tell you on this not to put it down on the pan and slide it back. They tell you to put it on the pan on an angle and then lift it up to the motor. Otherwise you squish all the RTV out, potentially causing a problem. Top is where the O-ring for the valve cover goes. We don't need to mess with that. That's pretty forgiving. As long as there's RTV in the joints, the valve cover will be good. I have a crank seal too. After you do that, you definitely want to wash it off again. Same process. Reseal. Just pop the old one out with a screwdriver. I haven't done any gasket work in a while, according to this RGB tube that's exposed. screwdriver rescue. Hopefully. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Come on! When it finally does make its way, it's probably going to be a little crazy. Oh, told you. Called it. I'm going to do a 2.5 millimeter bead on this. Not sure why I feel like there should be another bolt over here somewhere, but not up to me. Alright, been a minute. Might not seem long to you, but we got a couple of gaskets. Put a new gasket in this. We couldn't get the housing with the gasket, so we got an aftermarket gasket for it. So we got an aftermarket gasket for it. So we got an aftermarket gasket for it. I don't know what brand that is. L-ring. There you go. Perfect. New gasket in there. Still waiting on one of these, and still waiting on the inside O-rings for the timing cover. I've done an oil change since we last met. Didn't think it was exciting enough to film. And now I'm gathering some tools to put the Jeep together. He's going to come take it, which is, I think, a smart idea. If we go further, it costs more money to go further. And he's like, you know what? If we're going to end up in an $85, $100 engine, I can't fix it anyway. So I'm going to come get it. But I am going to put it back together so at least it can be moved and things like that. Even though it doesn't run good, it'll move. That's what we're doing now. Not very exciting either. I got the valve cover back in there. And now, it's so late that I get to stand in the sun. My own fault. Just trying to squeeze in oil changes while I work. This little Ford Focus is done. Washer fluid, tires, the whole nine. New car. Let's pop this back together. Alright guys, very odd day today. Came in this morning with almost 50 hours, ended the day with almost 50 hours. Did do an oil change, I got something done. That's back together. Hopefully we'll get the parts for the Honda to finish that tomorrow. I hope I'll see you there. Maybe you'll torque the like button on your way out if you got anything from today's video, other than heat exhaustion. I hope I see you in another video. You're awesome.